I had a dragon image here that I might do. But I could do something more goofy than that. Make a shark. Okay. Is that what we're gonna do? A dragon shark? A shark with wings? Okay. Okay, let's do that. Let's do a shark with wings. Okay, so as you can see, when you enter Blender, you entered it into the scene. You have a camera, a light, and a default block. All right, so since I'm doing a model that's only for game development, I'm not going to worry too much about the camera and the lights for now. And maybe I'll add them back when we do textures or something, but for now I'm just going to focus on modeling. So right now I'll teach you some of the basic key binds. So scaling, for example, is S. You'll see here. You could scale the entire object, or you could do S and combine it with X, and that'll scale in the X direction. You could do S and Y in the Y direction, and S and Z, like this. There's translation, which is G. If you press G, you could translate your cube around. You could also do G and X. We'll go on the X axis, and the same thing for Y and Z. And there's also rotation, of course. So you could rotate the cube like this, rotate an X direction axis, and a Y, and the Y axis and the Z axis. Oh, another way, if you don't want to use like R and X, for example, you could do R, and then if you do middle mouse button, you could like rotate it around an axis by holding it down, and things like that. Okay, so if you want to add a new item, a new object, you press Shift and A. That's Control and A, Shift and A. You could add these different objects. You could do donuts, like this. When you create donuts, for example, there's options that you could add. Actually, you have to add them the instant you create them. So here, if I create the donut, as you can see, there's these options that will like show up, and you could change the number of like vertices and segments on the donut, and increase the size and the width and things like that. When you make new objects, or if you want to make a model for a game, it's always better to start with a very low polygon object, because later on, well, first of all, it's much easier to work with, but also we'll learn that there are tools here that you could add, and one of them called Subdivision Surface, which could, as you can see, will like make it more high resolution. But you'll only want to do that at the very end, because we want to work with as little vertices as possible to make the job easier. So, okay, so that's how to add items. This little circle here in the middle is the place where you could add items, and you can move it around, I think. If it moves around, though, the shortcut to put it back into the middle is Shift-C. But since it's not moving around, it doesn't really matter. But anyways, the circle is used as the center point to where you want to add items. Okay, so to modify this cube, what we're going to have to do is press Tab tab enters us into edit mode, where we could select points, and you can move them around and change the shape of the object. You could also select faces. Up here. Okay, so up here there's the options. You could choose points. You could choose edges. So you could move the entire edge around, and you could use faces, which doesn't work. Oh, there you go. There you go. So the entire face. You could also select multiple like faces or points at the same time by pressing Shift while clicking. So let's say I want to select 2 points. I select one and I press Shift, select the other, and select the other, and here, and then you have an entire face. Okay. We could extend a face. I think the word extend is the right one. I'm not. Extrude, there you go. And that will add different parts to your object. And this is useful if you want to make like a character. For example, with arms, you could start making a little Minecraft character here. You press E to extrude. You select your faces, and you shape your character steadily. Another important tool that is going to be used very frequently and is very important for making a model more moldable is something called subdivisions. And to do subdivisions, you simply do Control R. And once you do this, you'll see that wherever your cursor is aligned on your block, you'll see like a line going across it. And basically when you left click, it will add new edges to your model. And if you do right click, it'll, I mean, you could position it wherever you want, but if you press right click, it'll center it automatically. And then we have new edges to work with. But also what you could do is you could have, if you use your middle mouse wheel, you could increase the number of subdivisions you would want to apply. As you can see, the more I increase my mouse wheel, the more subdivisions will appear. And if you do left click, you could, as before, move it around, or you could press right click to have it all centered. A good tool that I'm actually going to be using a lot while making a model is actually GG. And so what that does is that if you select, for example, a point, you could, when you press GG, you could like move it easily, well, you could slide it easily across edges that are adjacent to the point. And you could also do it for edges as well. So if you press GG, it'll like move, it'll slide the edge across the 2 edges surrounding it. If you added subdivisions and you regret your decision and you want to move like the loop of edges that you just created to a different area, to select a such loop is by doing Alt left click, and there you go. You selected like an entire cycle of edges that go around the block or model that you're working with. And then, like I said before, you could use GG and you could like move it left and right and reposition it to the place you want it to be. So to start creating a model, a good thing to do is to use a template. And so I pre-prepared a shark with wings template. Just go and downloads. Okay, and here is the image. You could just drag and drop the image onto Blender. However, doing that obviously will have it positioning in the wrong kind of angle and position. So to have it correctly positioned, you could use the Numpad, where you could use numbers like 1, which will show the X and Z axis. You could use 3, that'll show the Y and Z axis. And you could use 7, which will show the X and Y axis. Basically choose the axis that you'd want your image to be aligned with. So for instance, I guess the Y and Z axis. And then you could drag and drop your shark image. And then if you move around, you'll see it's perfectly aligned on the Y and Z axis. Once you have your image in your scene, first of all, you want to increase the size to have like an approximate size of your model. And here, if you go on the little image on the tools on the right, you'll see image options, and you could use alpha, and you could reduce the opacity, make it transparent, and select front for the depth, so that while you're modeling using the square, you'll be able to see the image at all times, and you could kind of follow along with it. Another Numpad number that you could use, which is pretty useful, to switch between orthographic and perspective modes. And to do this, it's number 5 on the Numpad. As you can see, like perspective, they'll all go towards a point. And if you do orthographic using 5, as you can see, the lines just go on forever. So go in edit mode. And okay, one thing we want to start with, because most models are symmetric. If you're making a character or an animal, most of the time they're very symmetric. And a good way to make your life easier, instead of like starting to model on one side and then this side is completely different, is to mirror one side. And it's probably the most useful tool in Blender, well, in any modeling program. To do mirroring, you want to go in wireframe, meaning you want to see every single point on the object, and to do that oh, it's probably here. There you go. Okay, top right, there's okay, so top right, you could activate or deactivate wireframe, and as you can see, you could see all the points. And to mirror, you want to get rid of half of them. So, like before, I'm gonna go on this view, and different ways you could select multiple points is B, you could drag and drop, or you could use C and select the points that you'd want to get rid of, like that. And right click, by the way, it kind of like cancels, or it's a good way of like getting out of an option. Like if I'm on select mode, you press right click to get out of it. Alright, once you have everything selected, the first thing that you want to do is, of course, delete them. So you could delete all faces, I believe. There you go. We want to keep the middle points aligned. They're very important, or else we'll have a huge gap between our model. And then once you have this, you go on the little tool as we did before and add modifier. And you do, where is it? Mirror. There you go. Mirror has like a little butterfly symbol on it, and there you go. And magically, we have, if I get out of wireframe, you'll see our entire cube back. But the difference is that if I decide to modify this side by dragging it away, it will replicate it on both sides. So something else that I forgot to mention that is actually pretty important is that when you're applying mirror, you're gonna have to check something called clipping, because if you don't, if for example you decide to move around the middle points that connect the two sides of the block, or well, whatever model you're creating, if you move it around, you'll see that it'll create a gap between them. So if you enable clipping, when, well, I'm just gonna go back to here. When you enable clipping, if I try to move that outwards like I did before, it won't allow it. And I think especially for beginners that are just starting using Blender or any modeling tool that has mirrors, you should definitely check clipping, because you want to avoid having like weird gaps in between your model. Another good tool before we move on is another way of doing subdivisions, and this is by pressing K. And by pressing K on different edges, you'll see like a little green line. And if you press left click, you could create new edges. You could kind of like do any shape you want. And once you're finished with whatever you're trying to do, you press enter. If you don't press enter, it will just like cancel everything. Like if you press right click, like I said before, it'll just go away. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that, so I just explained how you could create like new edges in between blocks like this. But I just wanted to show you a quick way that you could create faces and not edges. So if, for example, you have a model and you accidentally deleted a face or deleted it for any other reason, and then you end up with like a hole like this. So a quick way for you to restore that empty hole is to press F. And as you can see, the hole gets filled and you don't have to worry about that anymore. Here the nose, I feel like the squares are way too big, so I'm gonna try to add complexity to that. Okay, it's time to do the tail. So if you remember, kids, there was the extrude, and we want to extrude this tail. Press E, and we can move it upwards, scale it up a little bit, rotate it. Scale it up a little bit more. Actually, I extrude it again. I'm getting mixed up with my words here. Looks really bad. Quads come with two main advantages: subdivision and loop selection. All tri-mesh is a pain in the ass to manipulate. That is true. That is true. So when making models, try to stick with quads just so it's easier to modify, and it makes more sense. I'm gonna make this tail a little bit less fat, so I'm gonna select maybe these edge points here. Oh, when you could deselect with the middle mouse button. Sometimes I kind of remember these buttons subconsciously. I did a PDF with like the buttons I did remember. I might add to them later on. A PowerPoint, not a PDF. This PDF though, that I put in the Discord has every single keybind that you could ever want. So it's a really good one. There's a lot of keybinds. You don't need to know every single one of them. Just the main ones. Like scaling, translation, rotation, those are probably essential for you to know because you're going to do a lot of that. Okay, so I wanted to make this, so I wanted to move this inwards a bit. I think what I'm gonna do here is that I think it's a little bit too fat, so I'm going to delete these faces here. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. And then here, I'm gonna put it back with F. And here too. Okay. Okay, so this is not good. Make sure you don't do that. You should see there's like 2 points almost onto each other, but not quite. This tool is kind of tricky to use sometimes. This tail does not look great. It looks broken. I'm gonna add a little subdivision here, and I think the tail is probably done after that. And add a little pointy. Oh, okay, so here it doesn't look like it, but I right-clicked on the extrude. So there's actually 2 faces inside of each other here. And the way to see that that's the case is if you move a point, there's like a duplicate underneath it that's hidden. So you don't want to do that. Make sure not to do that. Okay, that's a good question, Mauricio. There's actually, I'll actually show it right now. So if there's a duplicate on top of each other, there's add-ons that you could add. Oh, you can press A to select all the vertices and Alt-M merge by distances. It'll remove all vertices that are on top of each other, so any extra faces are removed. I'm not used to reading and modeling at the same time. This is the first time I've ever done this. Give me a break. Okay, I'm gonna test purple M33's suggestion. So, okay. Did I do it? Okay, no. So I'm gonna like extrude this part and then right click. So now there's two faces on top of each other. Okay. So if I do Shift A, no, A to select all the vertices and Alt M. Let's see if it works. Thank you, Melissa. So A to select everything, and then Alt M, merge by distance. Did that work? Ooh, okay. Well, I never knew that. Thank you very much, Melissa. It was very useful. So here, the face is probably gonna be narrower, so I'm gonna move it in a bit. Also, word of advice, don't, I know I said that's better to have squares, but it's also good not to have squares that don't make any sense, like this one. Like, as you can see, the square is kind of going from here to here. This part is going in one direction, and then this part is going the complete opposite direction. So make sure to keep squares that are planar. Like that. Subdivision going across and going towards the middle, just so we could have a thin fin. And rotate it, and there you go. If you're following along and your shark isn't as pretty as mine, don't feel bad. Like, I mean, I've been doing this for like at least 2 years, I think. Well, I mean, I've done multiple models, I think enough for me to have, as you guys have noticed, like muscle memory. So don't feel too bad about it. So like if that's for example, I select this cycle with Alt left click. If I want to get rid of this, I will do Control X and it will get rid of the entire thing. Whoa. Did I do it wrong? What's a loop? It's like it's edges that are connected to each other. So these are loops. It goes like around a model, like a cycle. Obviously it doesn't go fully around because we're in mirror mode, but that's kind of the idea. It's like edges that are all connected to each other and it goes around each other. In edge select mode. Yes, in edge select mode. Okay, now I'll do control. Okay, in edge select mode, if you select a loop with Alt left click, you could get rid of a loop. Actually, another way I could do it is I'll just select this face, make it smaller, kind of move it around to fit the image in the background. Like that. And extrude Got some fins, little stubby fins. Look at this shark. Looking awesome. Go and edit mode, and I'll add 2 subdivisions here. Just like that. Move it there. These are really sharp wings. We want chicken wings that are not sharp, so. Aha! That looks like a chicken wing. Alright, I think we're good. So I'm just gonna make this chicken wing a lot smaller. Is that a little bit too small? Okay. And I'll like rotate it a little tiny bit. And I'll move it onto the shark. About there. It's so weird. Move it upwards a little bit. There you go. Beautiful. Okay, so now what you want to do, since these are 2 separate objects, you want to join them together. And to join them, so on the top right, there's all the list of the objects of your scene. And if you join them, did it work? Control J, it will combine into one, and it will apply the modifier that the base object had. Since the shark had the mirror modifier, obviously it duplicated, well, it mirrored on both sides. And if you want to separate both objects again, like let's say for any reason you want to separate these 2 objects again, what you have to do is press L on, you put your cursor on the object that you want to focus on. If I want to focus on the shark, for example, I'll put my cursor on the shark and press L. It will select the entire shark. But now, if I want to separate just the chicken wing, you press L on the chicken wing, and you press Control P. No, maybe it's P. Okay, yeah, just P, and it will show separate. And we want to separate by selection because we selected this wing, and voila. They are now separated again. And whoop, and it disappeared into nowhere. Okay, and it looks like the mirror modifier extended into the chicken wing, so I could delete that if I want. But for the time being, I want them to stay joined, so I'm going to let them like that. I'm gonna do the eyes first. You know what? No, I'm gonna do the legs. It's more fun. Okay. So, I was thinking maybe I could import some legs for a second. But maybe I won't find any. So I might do it myself. But if you want to import legs, you just go on File, Import, and whatever format you want. FBX is the one that I've used the most. And yeah, you could use that, but I'll just make it myself for now. So Shift A, do I'll do a circle, why not? Nope, that's not. I'll do a sphere. And like I said, remember when you create, let's say, a sphere or donuts, you could reduce the complexity, which is always better to do because you don't want too many vertices to deal with. So I'm just gonna put that many, and there you go. This will be a chunky leg. Just warning you guys. For joints, it's good to, let's say for like a knee, it's good to have like an easy, like you want, for knee, since there's a lot of movement in the knee and eventually we'll want to rig it, it's good to have smaller vertices around that area. If you have too big of vertices in places that might have a lot of movement, it might have problems. So we want to make sure it's it has enough vertices around those areas. Like, we want it to be like flexible. I don't know how to do a foot. This is horrible. Okay. I'll just proceed to what with what I was doing, and we'll fix it afterwards. What I should actually do is put a subdivision here and make them a little bit more rounded instead of square. I think that's why they're so scary right now. It's just how like edgy they are, meaning they I don't know what I'm saying. Oh, look at this. Okay, enough of this. I mean, it's okay. You have very twisty toes. Oh god. Okay, we're done with this foot. His very look at those toes. They're very angular, aren't they? Okay. And we'll move that down here. Oh my god. Maybe increase the size. Two. Move this to the left and right. I'm sorry about that noise. I don't know what it's coming from. It's probably the this key interface that I got online on a sketchy website. Chameleon eyes. You want chameleon eyes? I mean, it's a mouth, like, it's okay. It doesn't look that bad. I think I should, I'm gonna move this down a little bit, and there you go. I think that's probably better. Oh yeah, so should I do chameleon eyes? Okay, I'm gonna do chameleon eyes. Fuck it. So, I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult to do. Okay, so it's just a circle inside another circle. I think we're pretty much done though. Like, I think I'm gonna conclude after this. I don't want to drag this too long, and I showed you most of what I know about like modeling. That is. I don't like you don't really see me using any other complicated tools. So, like the things you see me using right now are usually the things I use regularly. If any of you know some tools that maybe I should show and may be important, let me know, of course. Okay, so I'm just going to join these two circles, and I'm going to join these two circles to the big circle, to the big shark. And there we have it. Chameleon eyes. Alright, so... Oh, I just found something that annoys me. What you would usually want to do when making models is you want to clean up. You want to have as consistent as squares as possible. You don't want weird shapes. You want to try to have like you know, 90-degree squares. But today, well, I don't want to spend too much time on this model, so this will be what we're gonna be using for the next tutorials. But I wanted to just show you guys that usually when you're done making models, you could add a modifier. So an important modifier for you to know is subdivision surface, and this magically will make your model high definition and very smooth and silky, as you can see. Look at that. Wow. Went from like Nintendo 64 polygons to like new PS5. No, probably not, but we can if in the subdivision modifier you could, there's this render thing, and you could, if you press it, you could drag it upwards and it will like increase the number, like the complexity. Actually, is that one? Quality, maybe? Is it quality? Ah! It's not working. Okay, viewport. Viewport. If you increase it, if you drag it, it will like make these if we go on the I think the mesh view. There you go. You could see everything is turned into very, very tiny vertices. Trippy. And there you go. We have a very silky, beautiful shark. And I'm just gonna hide this. We could hide it with the eyeball thing here. And there we go. Yeah, the feet look a little bit too realistic now, huh? Okay, and like I said, you know these modifiers that I mentioned? Be sure not to apply them, because maybe you want... so this is a mistake that I've done with the game Super Shopper that I did with Dan, is that I applied the subdivisions, so if I wanted to reduce the quality, I couldn't go back, and we were stuck with a high quality polygon, which is why I want to modify it this summer, maybe like redo the model so it's less high definition and won't like use too much of the power. Look at that tail. Look at that. It's like almost like it's like too realistic. Wow. All right. Well, I think we're done for today. Thank you for tuning in and helping me do this amazing creation. Those feet are terrifying. Oh my god. And I don't know what else to say. Like, let me know if you have any questions. Of course, if you like forgot, maybe there's like some things that you didn't understand very well, let me know. I hope it was fun and not too boring. I hope I did a good job, and I hope you learned something. Bye.